Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. I trust you are feeling as well as you can be in this moment. And if you're not feeling like that's true for you, that's okay. I hope you find peace and relaxation here. Namaste, dear Sky Guardian and Velo. Hello, dear Bonnie and Kim. We are starting off another Sangha today. Today I'm playing some lo-fi fantasy music. See if it fits the vibe. I like trying out new things. Sky Guardian, you know that I'm going to be watching a movie later, which is why I've done this live stream earlier. I am going to watch the sequel to Moana. Moana 2. I haven't actually seen the first one, so that's okay. I'm sure that I can look for context clues and extrapolate. Welcome, dear Berkey and Garrett and Katarzina. Hello, dear Ghost of Sparta and Isabella. Hello. Thank you for liking the live, dear Isabella. So starting off our Sangha today, we'll be doing some show and tell about sigil making. And then we'll be doing another reading from our book, Moksha Liberation, all about the secrets of immortality, Advaita Vedanta. And that'll be our Shravana section. Then we'll be doing Manana, Q&A, I have a question of the day, and we'll be ending with Nididhyasana, which includes a meditation on, a Buddhist-inspired meditation. Hello, dear Melinda. And thank you for liking the live. Good evening, dear Bubbles. Alright, here's my prayer. Oh, I didn't expect this kind of music. 1 second. Oh, my mouse isn't working. I guess we're forced to listen to this. It's pretty good. Am I even in the right playlist? Is this Orla? I think I put on the wrong playlist. This is Dear Magdalene. This is Magdalene's music. That's very wholesome. But, no, I meant to put on medieval lo-fi. There we are. Okay, the prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That means, may the divine protect us both together. May the divine nourish us both together. May our study be vigorous and effective. May we not mutually dispute or hate any. May there be peace in us. May there be peace in our environment. And may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Welcome, dear Gregarji. And hello, dear Ragnhildur. And thank you for sharing the live. Dear user 137, you ask, what made me become so aware? How did I get curious? Was there some traumatic event? I think we can look at many events in each of our lives that could be clear indications of an awakening unfolding. Just as there are various stages that a biologist might say as an important part of a flower's blossoming, but truly it is a spectrum of change that happens over a long period of time, probably many lifetimes. So there's no a single event that I can point to in particular. And if there was, what would that say about other people's chance to awaken? If some event was necessary for awakening in one person's life, then we would be basically gambling our awakening based on the nature of one's birth. But truly, awakening can happen whatever time or culture you are a part of, whatever circumstance of childhood or your adulthood. There is no direct correlation between what happens externally and what happens internally when it comes to awakening. And that's a good thing, because it means it can happen to anyone at any time. And hello, dear Loopy Lane, for your friendship necklace. Thank you for that. Hari Om Tat Sat. Salam Alaikum. Dear Dolphin, blue heart emoji, Genie. And thank you, Eveline, for your heart. You're gonna have to remind me how to pronounce your beautiful name. Hare Krishna. And dear Gulai, thank you for your rose. Om Namah Shivaya. Yeah, we're going full King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table in our Sangha tonight, I guess. That's right, dear G. Isabella, thank you for your finger heart. Here's one for you too. Hello, dear JP. Radhe Radhe. Thank you for liking the live, dear Trey. Hello, Chawarman. Thank you for wishing me a good day. All the same back to you, my friend. And Babblefishy, thank you for your tiny. Yippee! Hello, dear Rusa. Rianan, hello, snoozing. And thank you, Dolphin Blue Heart emoji and Genie emoji, for your rose. Om Dum Dargaye Namaha. And thank you, Golai, for another rose too. All of you are very kind, blessing our Sangha off tonight. I do have a show and tell for all of you, from one of you. Today we have a very interactive show and tell all about sigil making from Solaris. And there's a really cool website that Solaris has shared with us. It's called sigilscribe.me, sigilscribe.me. And let me pull it up on screen for you. Pretty cool. You get to type in various words, and those words are corresponding to various numbers, and then those numbers fill out this grid with various shapes. So we could put in a word, or we could put in a phrase. I could put in the name of Sky Guardian, for example. And then this would be the sigil corresponding with Sky Guardian. You can see that the chat might be covering a little bit of it. I can put it up here. This is the sigil of Sky Guardian. Pretty cool. I like that. Can we put an Om? Asks Gregor G. We can put an Om. I imagine it'll be very, very simple. Om is nothing. Om is blank. But what if we put the full name of Om, which is Omkara? Then we have that Gimel looking shape. Yeah, or we could put in the other spelling of Om, A-U-M. Also blank, same. There's another name for Om, which is the Pranava. Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool too. You want to see your name, dear Ragnhildur? Of course. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I like that. So this is a fun website, sigilscribe.me. And Solaris had shared something that they put in. let me zoom out for you. This is: the aura of my love is so pure that others in my presence are healed just by being near me. So you can really get detailed with it. And that creates this sigil. What does the number mean? Asks Michelle. The number, I believe, corresponds to the grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so a subset of the letters are chosen, and then the letters are mapped to a number from 1 to 9. And then you draw a corresponding shape on the grid. And then this is an artistic rendition of that. So I'm gonna have to minimize it for me to be able to read to you what Solaris had wrote about our show and tell today. Solaris calls it the invisible star shapes, and also a nice song everyone might enjoy that I have loved for years. So Solaris has written, "Howdy, sweet potato. Sorry for taking so long. I do want to follow up with my word. I realized that sigil making is a way to trace star shapes from intentions, the invisible stars from anything. If you don't know what sigils are, it's a number map that traces letters in a wheel shape. The resulting pattern is the symbol of the word or sentence used. And the idea is, since your subconscious knows what the symbol stands for, all you have to do is see it in order to activate its energy. So when I put in, the aura of my love is so pure that others in my presence are healed just by being near me, I'm telling the universe a new rule." See attached pictures, as we saw. Here is the place. Hopefully many people can benefit or at least have fun trying it out. That's sigilscribe.me. Also, that got me thinking, perhaps all things with an orbit shape are simply dialing a name or an intention that we can't see the other part of. All atoms are dancing and singing a song forever and ever of the concept that gives them purpose and meaning, and it determines what they make or form. So beautiful. So this was a really lovely show and tell. And I have a song I'd like to share for everyone that's been a long time favorite of mine. It's called Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra, which is the famous Heart Sutra from the Mahayana school of Buddhism. We've actually done that before, so do check out the playlist of meditations. We meditated on a version of this sung by dear Gaia Sanskrit, Gaia Sanskrit on YouTube. It was a wonderful meditation. But there is a recommended version that I'll bring up in case you want to listen to the same one that dear Solaris likes. Not sure when I can make it next, but hopefully it's the same day you do these for show and tell. I know you're probably bogged down with tons of emails, so I don't want to bother you unnecessarily. I'm actually not. You know, one can only get so many emails. Much love to you all, Solaris. And yes, let me bring up the version of the Heart Sutra that they love to listen to. It's this version. Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutram, the shore beyond. Imi Ui. And the name of the YouTube channel is Diana Peaceful. Peaceful is right. It's a very beautiful and ancient song. Alright, so that's our show and tell for today from Solaris. So thank you for listening, everyone. If you ever have something to share here, then do check out the show and tell submission form in the link tree in the bio. Namaste. And I think that's a wonderful way to start off our Shravana and our Sangha today. Oh, thank you, dear Heather. Thank you for the follow. Hello, dear Yana. You love Buddha, shares Queen of Fair. I love that you love Buddha. Hello, dear cliche. You used all my advice and wise words, and you never gave up. Found a new home, avoiding being homeless. I'm so happy to hear that you found a new home. Oh, I'm very grateful that you share this news with me. Thank you. How are you feeling in this moment? Also, thank you, dear Anna, for the pair of roses that you sent. Anna Carolina, a beautiful name. Om Hring Namah Shivaya. And dear Gulai, thank you for your, a pair of roses. Hare Krishna. And Lala Michelle, thank you for your quartet of roses and trio of roses each. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Dear Lynn, you ask, have I watched Arcane Season 2? No, I have not watched. Thank you for sharing the live, dear Magdalene. Lala Michelle, you had shared, why am I struggling, you ask? You cry all the time, you're so sad. Well, crying is a great thing to do when you are struggling. You're absolutely allowed to cry. I hope you know that. Process of grief can take a long time, and there's no timeline that you're supposed to follow for grief. Follow the path of least resistance. There is no limit to the amount of crying that you're supposed to do or not. I'm going to turn down the background music a little bit. I would really enjoy Arcane Season 2, shares Amelia. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I must confess that the biggest reason for me watching the first season is my girlfriend at the time, who loves League of Legends, and so it was a way for us to... It was a way for me to share an interest in something that she loved, and I enjoyed that. But we have gone our separate ways, and that is okay. And I don't play League of Legends, but it was a wonderful show, and I enjoyed the time that I spent watching it. Thank you, dear Kev, for your fast burst too. Hare Krishna. Hello, dear Ashton. I am well, thank you. How are you? Dear Alazanya with fur and fangs. A good name. You ask, am I a Buddhist or a Hinduist? You feel like you don't know the difference. That's a great question. It's not so different than the difference between Christianity and Judaism. Maybe I can switch scenes for a second and draw this out. This would make a good visual to probably put it in terms of something you might be a little more familiar with. Alright, I've got this paint program up. So what's the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism? Well, a lot, but they do have a lot of similarities. I think the best way to understand the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism is by looking at the similarities and the differences between Judaism and Christianity, because they follow a similar story and timeline as well. Both Judaism and Hinduism are ancient. We're talking like, you know, at least 3,000 years of history. Or more. Maybe I put the wrong inequality sign here. And Christianity and Buddhism are both approximately 2,000 years old. I mean, still pretty dang old, but Judaism and Hinduism is even older. And they both kind of evolved from the same region in the world. Judaism and Christianity around the Middle East, and Hinduism and Buddhism in India, or the Indian subcontinent. And Christianity is built on a huge foundation of Jewish texts. For example, the First Testament is the principal text of Judaism. Similarly, Buddhism has evolved from a lot of philosophy from Hinduism, like the concept of karma, like the concept of reincarnation, like the concept of dharma and the importance of meditation. But there is a lot of differences. Just like how Christianity introduced a lot of new features, like a personal form of the divine, Jesus Christ, so too Buddhism introduced a way of non-theistic religion, that is to say, a way of pursuing spirituality that doesn't involve the divine. So it's kind of the complement of Christianity introducing new forms of the divine. Buddhism just kind of said, we don't need that. Unnecessary for the spiritual path. Hinduism is a polytheism, and Buddhism is non-theistic, meaning that it's up to you, up to the practitioner to decide whether you want to be theistic. So Buddhism is the younger of the two, but still pretty old. In fact, Buddhism is even older than Christianity. It's 2,500 years old, from 500 BC. I hope that kind of explains some of the differences and similarities between Buddhism and Hinduism, but largely they are very similar in terms of the core ideas, like karma, like importance of meditation, like dharma, like reincarnation. But the major differences include Buddhism being non-theistic, as well as Buddhism generally rejects the concept of a soul. Okay, let me go back to our original scene here. I would like to read from another section of Moksha before we get too into our manana, into our Q&A. We have a wonderful reading. This is a Hindu-themed text from a lineage called Advaita Vedanta. But you're very welcome, a lasagna with fur and fangs. Thank you for the question. I realized I didn't answer your original question, is what am I? And I don't have an answer to that. You know, I'm like lasagna. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, layered on top of layers, you know? Okay. We left off with our protagonist getting her first lesson from her probably to-be guru. So without further ado, let's dive right into this first teaching. Thus began our dialogues. At a bench facing the river in Rishikesh, under a banyan tree with an impressive spread of aerial roots, Sid began. We begin with Om, which comprises 3 letters, A, U, and pronounced as a single sound, Om. A, is pronounced with an open mouth, oo with a half-closed mouth, and with a fully closed mouth. The extreme open vowel in speech is ah. A consonant that is closed, with oo falling between the two. He chanted Om 3 times. Om. 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 I said, I understood Om as a mystical sound used to focus the mind. Sid said, Om is everything. The 3 letters that comprise Om cover all sounds. And because all letters in any language are contained in Om, by extrapolation so are all words, and words name objects. Om, therefore, contains the universe, past, present, and future. An inquiry into Om is thus an inquiry into everything. Activity along the river was picking up. I could hear shouts from the tents upstream. Sid continued, The author of the 12 verses of the Mandukya Upanishad doesn't indulge in abstruse philosophical concepts, blind faith, or mystical experience, but grounds his text in our daily experience. On the path to self-discovery, his first step is a simple but profound analysis of the world around us and our 3 states of experience. 3? I asked. Waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, he replied. But we have millions of experiences, I retorted. Every instant is an experience. True, Sid replied. However, you can agree that all experience collapses into these 3 states. Let's assume that on an average day, you are awake for 16 hours and asleep for 8 hours. Either dreaming or in a deep, dreamless sleep. Say you are 33 years old. I am, I said. How old are you? I was about to ask. Sometimes he seemed youthful, and at others as ancient as time itself, but I kept this fancy to myself. That means that you've been awake a little over 22 years and asleep around 11. But do you state your age as 22? No, I don't, I said. Sid continued, Are you awake and conscious right now? I am. How about when you're dreaming? You are not awake, of course, but are you conscious when you're dreaming? I said naturally, but not the same as now. So, Sid continued, in what way is dreaming different? Me, taking a moment to reflect on this. When I dream, I'm not conscious of my body, but my mind is active. Are you implying that my consciousness when I'm awake is not the same as my consciousness when I'm dreaming? Sid says, No, the opposite. They are the same. What about when you are in a deep, dreamless sleep? He asked. I said, Neither my body nor my mind are active. Sid said, But are you conscious when in a deep sleep? I said I must be. I don't lose consciousness. Sid continued, But your mind and body are not functioning. I said, That's true, but when I wake up, I know who I am at once. Sid said, Exactly. And you don't just wake up, you also recall having slept well. It's not likely that you have lost consciousness since you pop in and out without effort. School, children in blue and white uniforms walked single file along the river. They waved at us and we waved back. Sid continued, "The question follows that if your mind and body are inactive, who or what is conscious when you are in a deep, dreamless sleep, when the waking and the dream worlds are blanked out? Absolute reality, supreme consciousness, we term Brahman, derived from the verbal root br, which means to grow, to expand. Present in all three states of experience, waking, dream, and deep sleep. What is the nature of this awareness, and where does it originate? The Mandukya gives us the answer in no uncertain terms, and once again without resorting to anything other than our experience of daily life. Shall we walk a bit?" We moved closer to the water. The school children and their teacher were lined up facing the river, palms together. In addition to the three states of daily existence, the sage points to a fourth state he calls Turiya, which simply means the fourth in Sanskrit. "What is it?" I asked. "I understand the three states. The fourth state," Sid said, "is the silence between the chanting of two Oms. During this momentary silence, the mind is stilled, and a glimpse of that awareness that underlies the three states becomes available. To us, in fact, the three states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, provide the gateway to this supreme consciousness." I said, "Brahman. To believe in? Worship? Love?" Sid said, "Brahman is you." "Me? Who you truly are." "Isn't that a bit of a stretch?" I retorted. "I can accept that my consciousness bears witness to all my experiences. How does my consciousness equate to Brahman, universal consciousness?" Sid asked, "Does your consciousness have boundaries, limits? Does mine?" "No," I said. "But if this implies that we share the same consciousness, shouldn't I be able to read your mind, know your thoughts, and you mine?" "Whose thoughts?" Sid asked. "Who is doing the reading? Who is sitting here asking the question?" "The small you, your ego, bound by this world of names and forms. Upon enlightenment, you discover that you are and always were none other than that supreme consciousness, Brahman. You are existence, consciousness, bliss. You are the self that is to be known." "I don't understand," I said. Sid continued, "Brahman cannot be defined. To circumvent this difficulty, the seventh statement defines what Brahman is not. Not conscious of the internal world, nor conscious of the external world, nor conscious of both worlds, nor a mass of consciousness, nor simple consciousness whose proof consists in the single belief in the self, in which all phenomena cease and which is unseen, incommunicable, intangible, featureless, unthinkable, indefinable, unchanging, auspicious, and non-dual. That is the self, and that is to be known." The vibrations of sound engulfed me in a soothing balm, a gentle breeze. He proceeded to narrate the story of King Janaka's dream. noble King Janaka of Mithila was sleeping in his chambers when a soldier woke him up to announce that enemy troops were at the gate. The king rallied all his armies, fought bravely, but lost the battle and was captured. He was exiled and reduced to begging in the street. Suddenly the king shook himself awake. He was in the royal chamber. He was the king taking his afternoon nap. He had been dreaming. Distraught, he assembled his ministers. "Who am I?" he cried. "Am I the beggar in the street or the king of Mithila?" The ministers were mystified by the question. Finally, Ashtavakra, a crippled boy who had come to King Janaka's court in search of his father, answered him, "You are neither king nor beggar, your majesty. You are pure consciousness, whether playing the role of beggar in your dream or playing the role of king when awake. You alone are real." Sid continued. We can now tackle the commentary to the Mandukya Upanishad, which is in verse form, called the Karika. It was composed around the 4th century by the redoubtable Gaudapada, a grand old man who did not suffer fools gladly. His arguments are the epitome of precision and clarity. Through logical deduction, he proves that there can be no difference between the waking state and the dream state. I said, proof? Dreams are insubstantial, ephemeral, a projection of the mind. Dreams disappear upon waking. Sid said, in a dream, you can drink a glass of dream water and quench your dream thirst. This dream experience is very real to you, the dream person. How is that different from the waking experience of quenching your thirst? Both waking and dream states are equally unreal. Whatever you experience is unreal. The irascible sage, not sure how to pronounce, that's a new word for me, boldly concludes, determined to drill his points home. He was combative, and with the weapon of his poetry, he systematically laid out the fallacies of the 30 or so schools of philosophy prevalent at the time. Even reincarnation, a belief that was widely accepted and based on cause and effect of past acts. Karma takes a hit. When did karma begin? He wants to know. Karma has no beginning, his opponents insist. Then it would have no end, he counters, which means there will be no possibility for liberation, moksha. Whatever I experience, says Gaudapada, who would not soften his tone, is unreal. And the proof lies in my daily experience of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. There is only Brahman, consciousness, eternal and unchanging, nothing else. Shankara, 4 centuries after Gaudapada, would vigorously demolish all schools of philosophy, including the Buddhist notion of nothingness, Shunyavada. How can there be nothing when you exist to make the observation? In the final analysis, the argument is unnecessary. In essence, fullness and nothingness are 2 sides of the same coin. Why don't we pause this lesson from Sid to our dear protagonist on the study of Advaita Vedanta and continue it next time. But thank you for listening, and an excellent introduction into the Mandukya Upanishad, an ancient text outlining the so-called secrets of immortality. And that'll conclude our Shravana, and we can transition into our Manana, the portion of the live dedicated to Q&A. So welcome everyone who joined while we were reading. My attention is all on you, and we can explore whatever is in our hearts and minds. Namaste, the only S. Nice to see you again. And hello, Danielle. Thank you for liking the live, the only S. And hello, hip-hopper non-stopper. And thank you, dear Taylin, Ashton, and yes, thank you for sharing the live earlier. It's all Legos. Thank you for the rose and tiny. Yippee! Dear Galadriel, you ask, do I know any books on the 8 limbs of yoga and how to start that journey? Yes, I have it right next to me. The 8 limbs of yoga are found in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, where he describes the Ashtanga yogic system, which is the 8-fold limbs of yoga. I haven't actually cracked open this version, but this one happens to be by Georg Feuerstein, which I think I recall seeing his name before. He's a pretty prolific translator of Sanskrit texts. But Patanjali is definitely the original source. Another great source is the Bhagavad Gita, which briefly covers the Ashtanga yogic system as well as other yoga systems. Dividing yoga into 8 types is one way of categorizing yoga. The Bhagavad Gita introduces another way, which divides it into 3 kinds. But generally, the idea of yoga coming in different forms is so that every aspect of life becomes touched by yogic law, by yogic principles. There's a yoga for everything. The yoga of how we conduct ourselves with others. There's a yoga of how we position our body. There's a yoga of meditating, a yoga of concentrating, a yoga of breathing, a yoga of eating. Basically, yoga is a completely all-inclusive philosophy that touches every part of your life. The benefit of Patanjali's yoga system of Ashtanga yoga is that it is a series of subtler and subtler yogas that bring us more and more inward. We start with the yogas of our external environment, the yoga of personal conduct. And then we begin to focus on things that are more inward, like how we can make this body fit, and then how we can sit in meditation, and then how we conduct our mind, and then how we conduct our intellect. And all of these yogas build on top of each other like a ladder. And it culminates in the yoga of samadhi, which is the yoga of the union between the subject and the object, which is the goal in yoga. Not the highest goal. The highest goal, you have to go even beyond yoga. But yoga can take you to samadhi, which is important for having experiences of direct perception. Dear Greg RG, You sure see, you thought yoga was less to do with the asanas, good. But then I showed you a 120-year-old guy and tell us that the spine is what depicts our age. Yes. Well, there is definitely a physical component of yoga. Yeah, it's very important, but it's not the most important part of yoga. The reason why yogis strive for a long age is so that they can maximize the amount of time for them to understand the subtlest truths. Because it's almost like you flipping a coin every day while you're alive. Am I going to be enlightened today? Is it going to click today? If you want to maximize the chance, and it's not a 50-50 coin, but a heavily weighted coin that's probably 1,000,000 to 1. If you want to maximize the chance of landing on that truth, then you're going to want to maximize your life. If you only have 5 days to understand the highest truths, you're cutting it pretty short, for example. So yogis want to live as long as they can. But yeah, I like what you say, dear Greg Archie. Definitely goes to show that a little exercise can go a long way. Absolutely. Dear Kristen, you ask, do I ever want to start a commune in the woods? I think, unfortunately, those don't usually go very well. If we look at the history of starting communes in the woods, I think we'd have to improve upon a lot of mistakes that unfortunately are quite common with that mode of thinking. I would much rather set up something like an ashram, which is not necessarily far from a city center. I don't believe in the necessity of escaping a city in order to find happiness. If that were the case, then all the monkeys in the jungle would be enlightened. They're pretty happy a lot of the time, but I wouldn't consider them enlightened. The gingerbread lady. You ask, do I know anyone who's had a near-death experience? Well, the gingerbread man from Shrek, he had a pretty close call with death, right? I mean, his legs were chopped off. You know, they were pretty close to cutting off other limbs. So, probably in your pantry is someone that can tell you about what it's like to be very close to being killed or eaten. But in my personal life, there's a lot of people in my life that have had really close calls, and I'm lucky to be here too in many ways. But as far as having, you know, a mystical experience, which many people have surrounding near-death moments in their life, I'm not sure if there's anyone in my personal life that I can point to that has them. But I have heard that they can be excellent sources on experiences that go beyond the physical body, which can really be helpful in alleviating anxiety about the nature of one's mortality. Thank you, Gots to Love, for the ice cream cone. Arion Tatsat. As the only S, you ask, what is beyond yoga? What is beyond yoga? It's the same thing that's beyond all forms of spiritual practice. The practice itself, you know, gets you 99% of the way there. It's like they say in Vedanta, that spirituality is a two-step process. You have a thorn of ignorance. Well, what you do is you take the thorn of knowledge and you pry out the thorn of ignorance with the thorn of knowledge. And then once the thorn of ignorance is gone, then you throw out the thorn of knowledge. In other words, at some point you have to be unattached to the teachings themselves, because the teachings are considered mithya, temporary, and we're after the permanent. And so the ironic thing is that the teachings lead us to the permanent, but the teachings themselves are not permanent. So at some point you have to kind of go beyond the teachings. You have to go beyond the yoga or the Vedanta. There's a beautiful line in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is saying that to a realized one, spiritual teachings have so much use as does a pond when there is a flood all around. Happy to hear of your interest in these things, Gingerbread Lady. Hello, dear Sarini. Dear user 364, can you share you have trouble not projecting your criticism onto others? How can you lead all your inquiry with more grace? Now that is an example of such a wonderful question. Questions like that will certainly lead your inquiry with more grace. You've already begun, incidentally, but to entertain your question, first of all, it's a very vulnerable thing to share. Focusing on what we have to work on is the first step, which you've done in the question. Every human is like a bag of trail mix, right? There's some sweet parts, they like the M&Ms, and there's some bitter parts, like the raisins. And most people, when they're eating trail mix, they carefully navigate the raisins and just pull out the M&Ms. When it comes to ourselves, we should be pulling out the raisins. And when it comes to others, we should be pulling out the M&Ms. Because, unfortunately, our negative view of others is not going to make us happy. It's a truth. It's an unfortunate truth, but it is a truth. That if we are constantly looking at the faults of others, we're never going to be happy. So the difficult part in redirecting our awareness to something else is to recognize that pulling our awareness from the faults of others is not about justifying the things that they're doing wrong or ignoring it. People make mistakes, absolutely. But focusing on others' mistakes is not going to improve our life. You might get lucky. Every now and then someone may listen to you and they improve, but it was ultimately their choice to use that moment to work on themselves. In the same way, it's always our choice to use our moment to work on ourselves. Our life is really all we got. At some point, we're going to have to leave this world behind and all of the people in it. What carries with us is everything that we've worked on. So it's vital that we look with the faults within ourselves first. And incidentally, it's still a great way of making a difference in other people's lives too. Because the people in your life deserve a kinder, more compassionate, more knowledgeable, stronger you. So instead of trying to make other people in one's life like that, why don't we show them what they're missing? If there's a lack of anything in the world, then let us fill that ourselves and become a role model in that way. Then, we're always looking up. Because if we constantly are aware that there's something that I can improve on, then that's meaning, then that's purpose. And if there's anything in the people around you that you can look up to, even if they're not particularly good people in most places, if it's just their determination or their consistency, even if what they're determined about or consistent at is not very good, you could at least look up to that. Right? Even if you're the protagonist and there's an antagonist in your life, and that antagonist is very cunning, you can go, you know what? I could work on my own cunning abilities too. Maybe in a different way than they're using it, but still, as long as we have something that we can look up to in another, then every interaction becomes one of self-improvement, one of raising our awareness, of growing. I hope that makes sense to you. I find it really helps me in my life, but it's difficult, especially when you just want to eat into other people with your words. But coming from experience, if we surrender our need to look for faults and just find one thing to be grateful for in another, even if it's not what they want us to be grateful for. You know, we can thank people for this lesson in honesty or this lesson in patience, etc. Then we are on our way up. Wolfscribe, you're wondering, has my hair ever been short? Oh yeah. Yeah, when I was, well, not super short. I've never had like traditionally short hair for men in my culture. But it's never been this long. Before it's like, here I can give you a demonstration. Something like, if I just pile it on my head, you know, hair like that. Something like that. Which isn't super short, but it's definitely shorter than this. Dear Kalampolo, you share you want to ask questions, but you don't have any more. Oh, I scrolled away. You happen to be enjoying only listening. It's funny how it works like that. And that's perfectly okay. Dear Mixon, you had asked, should you forgive someone who hurt you really badly? Forgiveness is never a should or should not thing. There's really nothing that I would say that you should or should not do. There are things that are going to be helpful, and forgiveness is always going to be helpful as long as you know what constitutes forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting them back in to our life, nor allowing them to hurt you again. Sounds simple, but it's important to state because I don't think we really have a good definition of forgiveness in our society. Forgiveness means, in my books, clearing out the resentment in you that's affecting you, that's continuing to hurt you. Has nothing to do with making them feel better, has everything to do with making you feel better. Because even scientists know that resentment has an effect in the body. Anger and hate, they say it boils the blood, colloquially, but truly, you'll find raised stress hormones in your body, and that has an adverse effect on almost everything. On your sleep, on your immune response, on your cardiovascular system. If you want to be healthier, then you learn to forgive. And you can forgive without telling them. It's a personal thing. You can close your eyes right now, or anytime when you are ready, and just let go of all of these weights that are weighing your system down. It's entirely for you to be able to move on with grace. And that will always be more healthy or more helpful, but it's always an individual choice also. No one can tell you when and how to forgive. That is up to you. Or they can tell you, but they can't force you, I should say. Hello, dear Rhiannon. Dear Lolly, you ask, how can someone know that the religion they are following is the right one? An excellent question. I have a very simple answer. And it comes with a drawing. This isn't the drawing, although this is also to do with religion. That's more of a coincidence. Alright. Here's the drawing. And if you follow the drawing, you'll have a 100% certainty over the truth of your religion. So in school we learned about Venn diagrams. So maybe this circle represents Christianity. Maybe this shape represents Islam. Maybe this shape represents Judaism. Maybe this shape represents Hinduism. You get the picture? It's forming. And maybe this shape represents Buddhism. So all religions are different in many ways, but have overlaps. There's a lot of overlap between Christianity and Judaism, for example, in this region. And there's a lot of overlap between Buddhism and Hinduism in this region, for example. But notice that at the center of the Venn diagram here, there's an overlap between all of the religions. And there's more religions than the one I've mentioned, but it would take a while to draw all of them. So notice that if there is an overlap between all of the religions, some core principle that's being shared by all of them, if you make that the basis of your faith, then you know without a doubt that you are following the truth. You might not know about the truth of any religion in particular, but what is universal, what is common within all of them, that must be true. Because if any of them contains truth, then the overlap between all of them must be true. So whatever the universal value is, that's true for you and your brothers and sisters all around the world, then that must be true, isn't it? You can have certainty in that. Dear Oscar, you share, unless no religion is correct though, then it's not true, right? That would be correct. So, this is where the second part of the argument comes in. How do we know that there is truth in religion? Then these two facts together lead to certainty. Well, what would be an indication of someone following a true path? In my opinion, an indication of someone following a true path towards the source, or whatever the equivalent of that source is in religion, then they should begin to be imbibing the qualities of that source. And what is the source? All love, knowing, compassionate, considerate, fair, inclusive. And I think if you look at many of the religions around the world, you'll find many people. Usually it's quite rare that someone embarks the really high levels, but there are saints and sages within all religions, in my opinion, that imbibe these things, which means they all touch on some core that they're getting closer and closer to. That same core that we find in the Venn diagram, for example. And thank you, dear Gio and Simon Aladdin, for your heart me. And Tiny Tiny! Yippee! Oh, you're very welcome, dear Josh. Volko shares Darth Vader wouldn't agree, or Dark Vador. I actually just watched the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. Last night. Of course, I've watched it before growing up, but I haven't in a very long time. Hello, dear Hexican. Welcome back. Oh, I heard a meow on the other side of my door. Dear Lolly, you share. So essentially, we see the truth in religion through the essence of people. Well, of course. The hallmark of truth is having a profound effect on its people. And truth is one that is all-encompassing. Universal truth means that which takes all things into consideration. And the more we are considerate, naturally the more patient we are, the more loving, the more kind, etc. And all of those virtues are a sign of people going higher and higher on their path. Just like a mountain has many different ways of climbing. You can travel across the north, the south, the west, the east. But even if you're on the eastern side and another person's on the western side, if you notice the air is starting to thin, and your breathing is getting a little harder, and the snow around you, and then it doesn't matter what side you're coming from, you know that you're going higher, that the elevation is getting higher and higher. There are signs that you can look for, and these signs are independent of the path that you take. It's only dependent on the elevation. No matter where you are in the world, if you go higher in elevation, there will be the same effects or similar effects that you can point to. Air is going to thin, generally going to get colder. Wind speed increases. Snow begins to form at higher and higher altitudes. Volko, you share, you feel sometimes like any truth can be proved and dismantled at the same time. If it can be dismantled, I would not call it truth, but you're right, that every perspective has a way in which it is true in your experience, and a way in which it is limited. Each perspective has its limitations, and each perspective has its value. So what matters is not what perspective we hold in particular, but our ability to use whichever perspective is right for the context at the time. Only when we gather as many perspectives as we can, then we get a full appreciation for the object of knowledge. 360. Thank you, dear Kristen, for your rose. Hrim Namah Shivaya. Thank you for sharing the live, dear VK Francis. Dear Cliche, you ask, so do we have like a biological compass? I think it's pretty, it's common knowledge that you'll be able to see when someone is being kind or not, whether they're being inclusive or not. I think we all have the ability to discern the whether someone is being loving in that moment or not, for example. We might have our own limitations due to our trauma, due to our experience, due to our insecurities, but over time, all of those things eventually, on average, the noise to signal ratio becomes smaller and smaller. And given a large enough context window, I think we can see, like a biological compass, who is happier, who is more loving, who is more peaceful. Though there will always be exceptional moments. And thank you for sharing the live, dear Gingerbread Lady and user 364. The only S? You ask, can I explain how to know when the universe or divine sends us messages? There's no clear way of knowing because everything is a message from the divine. And at the same time, nothing is. To put it in other terms, you can look at every object in your experience right now and find a way of connecting with the divine. At the same time, you could look at the exact same objects in your experience right now and not feel any connection whatsoever. The source is within you. Ultimately, you are the messenger rather than the recipient. Divinity flows from you rather than to you. So it's up to you to listen to that silence and then interpret that to the best of your abilities in the ways that bring out the most potential, the most possibility in the world. Cliche, you ask, so there are no answers, just perspectives? Well, that's one perspective. One perspective is that there are no answers, there's just perspectives. Another perspective is that there is a clear, distinct answer, but that it's so simple, it can only really be appreciated through diverse perspectives. Like how the rules of chess are so simple, but it gives rise to such a diversity of games. On average, after only a handful of moves, 5, 6, or 7 moves, you're playing a game of chess that has never been played before and likely will never be played again. Unless you're following a main line. It's quite remarkable that such a simple setup, only an 8x8 square and 5 different pieces, I think, can lead to such amazing varieties, and they're all valid games. No game by itself is the chess game. Or if you have a canvas in front of you, there's no one way to paint it. You are welcome to paint in that canvas in many ways. So does that mean that any painting itself has little to no value in the grand scheme of things? No. This means that the value of life is determined by you, which means that you are the source of meaning. That's to elevate you, not to dismiss the meaning. The greatest truth is that you get to decide what you want to do with this information, how you want to paint in that canvas, how you want to dance on that stage, how you want to interpret this moment. The ability to ask what the meaning of life is probably the most meaningful thing that you could realize. And isn't that wonderful? Hello, dear Starlight. Wow. You had asked, how does a guru absorb or take on the karma of their students? Oh, it's nothing fancy. How does a mother suffer while their children are suffering, and yet is not able to get bogged down by the weight of their pains and continue to be a loving mother in spite of all of that? One, through empathy, and two, because they are older and wiser and know how to process that experience. Karma is shared through empathy. Just by being empathetic, you take on a little bit of that karma. But if you don't know how to process that karma, that'll only weigh you down. For example, many people who are deeply empathetic, they can carry the weight of everyone around them, but yet they don't know what to do with it. They feel all of the sadness and anger and pain in the world, and it just stays there, you know? Nothing happens with it. And so they get depressed and anxious, etc. They are taking that karma, but then just holding on to it, like for safekeeping. I don't know. So, a process has to be in addition to that empathy, and that is handing it off to the divine. Anyone can do that, but for the people that don't know how to do that, then we do that for them. And anyone can do that to another person. You don't have to be a guru to do that. Or if you wanted to rephrase it like this, you could say that everyone deserves to be a guru for their friends and vice versa. To be a guru of one or two people, not a satguru. Like you can't be a true father and mother to all your friends, but in many ways you can be motherly and fatherly to your friends, like that. As long as you have a way of helping process that energy, such as through meditation, such as through prayer, such as through ceremonies and ritual. Like maybe you write down everything that's bothering you or them and you throw it into a campfire. Something like that burns the karma. All about handing it off to the divine, to the universe. Oh, I'm behind on thanking those who sent a gift. Please forgive me, and I thank you for your patience. Dear Shakira, thank you for your heart me you sent a few minutes ago. Hare Krishna. And dear Harsi, thank you for your heart me. Om Namah Shivaya. And Sav, thank you for your gold medal. That's very kind of you. You are first. You are all one. Hari Om Tat Sat. And dear Rachel, thank you for the hearts you had sent. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. And dear Kalampolo, thank you for your quintet of roses. Jai Sita Ram. And Babelfishy, thank you for your rose and trio of fast bursts. Om Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudraf Prachodayat. Oko, you ask how much I found the movie Matrix interesting on a spiritual POV. A little bit. Yeah, it touches on some very mind-expanding themes. I think you can go way farther than just that, though. Because Matrix, the idea of it is that this world is not real. And it's a manifestation of something that is more real. And that's a great first start, in my opinion, on something called Advaita Vedanta. But it goes much, much, much further. And I think if you get caught up in the early realizations, it can be really anxiety-inducing. Because then you think, well, if there's something more real than this reality, am I being duped? Am I a fool? Is this like a trick kind of thing? And then it gets very scary for the practitioner. So to navigate the anxiety surrounding the idea of a reality that's bigger than the one we're currently experiencing, I think it's important to understand where this idea comes from. It's a very ancient idea. The word matrix stems from a feminine word, like matriarch. And that trick suffix is at the end of many feminine words like, dominatrix. It means a feminine, disciplinarian. But matrix means the feminine, just the feminine in general. It's the root of that. Now, the reason it's important to associate the world with the feminine has to do with the history of associating the divine with the masculine. Okay? When we read texts about God, God's always using he, him pronouns. Why is that? Why not she, her? Well, the answer is God does use she, her pronouns, but when acting as nature, as the universe. And that part of religion has largely been forgotten for the past few thousand years. And what it has led to is a reverence for the divine as the masculine, as the source, as the creator, and a missing piece of the puzzle, which is reverence for the divine as the mother, as creation, as nature herself. There's two things here. There's the creator and there's the creation. It's the same energy, but on one hand acting as the masculine, on the other hand acting as the feminine. So the realization that the material world is not all there is and we have to return to a reality beyond, like the source, that's a good realization that may come from a movie like The Matrix. But just like if you try to run away from your mother and you successfully outrun her and you get to your father, and your father is just going to tell you, wonderful, I'm so happy that you found your way back to me. But I have been with you the whole time. You have already been established in me. You have yet to understand the divinity of the mother, which is what you've run away from, the matrix, the Maya, the material energy. And she is equally divine as the reality that transcends her. So when you look at it that way, I hope anxiety is alleviated from feeling like there's something to escape. The feminine is just very mischievous. And the only illusory part is just that it's not all to do with objects and forms. For that you have to go to the Father. But once you get to the Father, well, the Father is expressed through the Mother. The Mother is the Father is the Mother at the level of the divine. And so you return to the greater reality, the source, and then what do? Well, the only place you have to go is back here. Back into the matrix, back into the Maya, because this is where the divine expresses itself. This is the play, the divine play that happens. So you can go backstage for a little bit, I guess. And then you realize that it's actually pretty boring back there, and that all the action is really here. Thank you, dear Ashley, for the heart me that you had sent. Om Kring Kali Kaye Namaha. It's just like that scene in The Matrix where Neo is told that the real Matrix was the idea that you could escape the whole time. That you've escaped this Matrix how many millions of times before? So really the only thing to escape is the idea that you have to escape anything. I hope that's a mind-blowing moment. Dear Sufi Siddhu, thank you for your trio of roses. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. And dear Valentina, thank you for your heart me. Om Kamalyar Mahakalikaye Namaha. Thank you for your mind-blowing emojis, dear G to Infinity. And Babelfishy, thank you for your heart me. Ram Ram. No, I don't listen to any podcasts, dear Sly Merlin. But I know Duncan Trussell is a wonderful orator and storyteller. Lots of respect to him. Dear Kalampolo, you would like for me to cover the topic, The Observer is the Observed, by Krishnamurti. I like that. Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier about how in Vedanta you have the thorn of ignorance, and then you use another thorn to pry out the thorn. And if that doesn't make sense, before there's tweezers, how are you going to get a thorn out? One that's, really stuck in you. You got a splinter. Well, you use something equally small. Well, what's equally small and pointy as a thorn before tweezers were invented? Well, you use another thorn. So back in the day, if you ever had a thorn stuck in you, you'd just pick off another of the same thorn and you'd use that thorn to pry out the thorn. And then once the first thorn is out of your skin, you throw the second one away. There's no need to have a second thorn. So, when we have the thorn of ignorance within us, we feel that there is an identification with the body as defining our whole nature. So we have to use another thorn to pry out that ignorance. And that's the idea that you must be separate from everything that you observe. If you know that you're not the house because you see the house, the seer and the seen are different, then why should that not apply to the body too? If you experience the body as the experienced, then the experienced and the experiencer must be different. So to disentangle your identification with the body, we use the technique of separating the seer from the seen. But once the first thorn is removed, then we actually throw out that second thorn and say, actually, the seer and the seen are one. So you are the body. But you are also the house and your friends and your family and everything that you experience. There's no separation, no duality. Gregor, you ask, were there 12 knights on the round table, plus Arthur, 13? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I would love to learn more about the Arthurian legends, but I know very little about them. Dear Kristen, you share, whenever you try and open your mind through plants, you panic. How to get past this? dissolve ego altogether, you fear a mega dose would be mad. I would say for someone who's already interested in the things that we talk about in this live stream, which I assume you are because you are a frequent Sanghi, then your mind is already open. Your mind would not be open if you had no interest in these things, but because you do, it's already open. So what psychedelics are going to do for you is insignificant compared to someone who is not already interested in these things. And a good sign that you're already past the point of needing them is what you said, a panic attack. When the substance starts to give anxiety, then that's Mother Nature saying this medicine is no longer for you. You have already expanded into new territory, and the new territory is what you're unfamiliar with, and that unfamiliarity is giving you anxiety. But you ask how to dissolve the ego entirely. I ask of you, what does that word mean for you? Because I get into trouble assuming what that means. I think I've learned that it's best not to assume, because I think this word means many different things to many different people. So I want to ensure that I have the correct understanding of what the word ego means for you in this context, dear Kristen, of wanting to dissolve it. Gregor G, you share, they call the Arthurian legends the matter of Britain. And there's also Charlemagne and the matter of France. How fascinating. I would love to brush up on my mythology. Like your misaligned connection to sense of self. Gotcha, that makes sense to me. So my next question for you then is, in what way do you feel like your connection to sense of self is misaligned? What in your experience can you point to that makes you feel like that is true for you? Hello, dear Virgo girl. And hello, Om. Oh, that's not Om, that's Yin Yang. Sorry, I'm mixing up my religious iconography. Yin Yang emoji. Negative connections seem to crop up. And what is an example of a negative connection for you, dear Kristen? I know I'm asking you a lot of questions. Thank you for answering them. Sky Guardian, you ask in the meantime, what are my thoughts on was the fight of Tyson and Paul scripted? Now that is the question. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I can't say for sure. Is everything scripted? The gingerbread lady, you sure my heart is 12 times the size of a normal human. My goodness. You know, that sounds dangerous. Where does it fit? Like the Grinch. Just not liking self, shares Kristen. What part of yourself don't you like? I'm taking a very inquisitive route. I hope you don't mind. If you don't want to answer that question, that's okay. That's okay. You don't. That's if you don't want to answer, no problem. I'll just cover some general bases then. generally, we have problems with how our body looks and what people think of us, and we struggle with our personality, wondering if it's authentic or if other people recognize its authenticity. And a lot of that comes from the outside, that you weren't born insecure. You were born with a lot of needs, that's for sure. But as a baby, you weren't thinking, is my tummy too fat? Because babies are supposed to be chubby, you know? Practically for the entire evolution of a baby, you know, they're supposed to look the way they do, unless there's some health problems. But at some point as we get older, we start judging parts of our body based on superficial things. And that extends to our personality too. And all of that doesn't actually come from us. It's not like we came to the conclusion that we look wrong, or that we sound wrong, or that some part of us is wrong. That comes from outside. So how do you dissolve that? How do you dissolve this lack of love for your body, for your mind, etc.? That's a difficult question. Something that we're all still learning together in many ways. But some of the things that have helped me is, I guess, coming to the realization that it's just too tiring to keep that up. It's exhausting to be so self-critical, and it has not helped. When I look back at all of the times that I felt great about myself and I was successful in various things, it almost never came from self-criticism. That all of the things that I succeed in were based in belief in myself. And if that's the ultimate goal, if ultimately we want to be successful in our endeavors and in our relationships, etc., then from our own experience, we already kind of know that the times that we've been really good at something that we want to do, it's almost always come from a place of, I can do this. I got this. Doesn't matter what the world thinks. But we forget to keep that experience in our mind, or value our own experience of that. But every one of us, I'm sure, you can look back in your past and you go, all right, that time that I did that, I had faith in myself rather than doubt. What does doubt lead to? Just more doubt. So from looking within your own experience, you should come to the conclusion that the effort that you put into doubting yourself, believe me, it takes effort to do that. It's exhausting. If you put that instead into belief in your ability to succeed, your success will manifest itself at an accelerating rate. There's no comparison. Everything you have to achieve comes from a place of certainty within yourself, or a place of faith or love. And every time you continue to keep those principles in mind, then it gets easier. And every time we catch ourselves thinking negatively about a part of ourselves, that is a great opportunity to remind ourselves of those core principles. There's one more thing I wanted to add to that. Perhaps one of the subtlest mistakes that we make on the path to self-love is every time we catch ourselves not loving our bodies, our minds, we judge ourselves. But that judgment is part of the lack of self-love. So whenever you notice, oh, I'm not being kind to myself here, the kind thing to do is go, that's okay. Now that I noticed, I can change gears. I can change tracks. You affirm yourself, oh, all right, I'm happy I noticed. Time to bring my mind to something positive. Thank you, Kalampolo, for your trio of friendship necklaces. Radhe, Radhe. And dear Uncle Tony, thank you for your rose. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Lily Green, you share you're doing a 72-hour fast, water only, in the hospital, and this is the calming you need. My voice is always a soothing space for you. I'm happy to hear that. And for such an intense fast, you're in probably the best place to do that. So that's very good. I'm sure you'll be feeling a lot better soon. Kotar, you don't think I ever think negatively? Well, that's a very positive thought. But it's not the truth. No, this mind is running off ancient hardware. No matter how advanced we appear to be as a species, we're running off of some pretty barbaric hardware. It's a long journey to make the mind positive. That's for sure. The good news is you don't have to be thinking 100% positive in order to be positive, because you get to choose which thoughts you want to express or pursue. You could have 99 negative thoughts and just one positive thought. And if you choose to express that one positive thought, you're doing great. You're liking the round table music, G to infinity. Good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, dear Fox, for the septet of friendship necklaces you sent a few minutes ago. Hariom Tatsat. Queen of Fair, you ask, do I think telepathy is real? Well, my two cats, Sandy and Shadow, all they have to do is look at each other a certain way, and then they go off walking in the exact same direction. I think that's pretty impressive. And loved ones in my life, I'm very grateful. I might not be consciously expressing how I'm feeling, but there have been times where my mother, for example, just takes one look at me and goes, oh, I understand. I think we communicate a lot in other ways. Our body language, our eyesight, or our eyes in general. There's a lot of communication that happens at much more subtle levels than just using our speech. Thank you, dear Ragnhildr, for your swan. Always a beautiful gift. Om Sadhyo Jatam Prapadyami Sadhyo Jataya Vai Namo Namaha Bhave Bhave Nati Bhave Bhavasvabam Bhavod Bhavaya Namaha. Thank you, Inevitable, for your pair of trios of roses. Never expected, but always appreciated. Om Shring Mahalakshmyai Namaha. Dear Lior, you ask, how do you deal with feelings of emptiness? Well, for one, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. For two, when you want to make room for something in your closet, best thing to do is to make it empty. Whenever you want an opening for something, that can't possibly happen without an emptying. You're experiencing emptiness. You are secretly, well, not so secretly, but counterintuitively experiencing openness. Emptiness means there's an invitation for something that could be there. If you look at that space in terms of openness, it becomes a lot less scary and actually really peaceful. The Buddhists love that concept of emptiness. The goal for Buddhists is to feel absolutely empty. Not in the depressing sense, but in the opening sense of absolutely open to new experiences. Just that little shift in perspective makes that feeling change from something that shouldn't be there, that needs to be filled, to a space of possibility, and invites patience and wonder. Gotar, you share when you feel emptiness, you pull out the Mr. Noodles. Dear Mircea, if that's how I pronounce your name, thank you for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Dear Orla, thank you for your fast burst. Om Brang Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Oh, well, thank you, Kalampolo. You're very welcome, dear Lior. I first heard that in a quote that I paraphrase now. And then the emptiness turned its face to me and said, I am not empty, I am open. Dear Koi Fish Girl, you ask, how can you forgive your abuser? That is a very deep question and requires a lot of care and consideration. And if you feel like you're at that level in your healing journey where you're ready to ask that question, that is wonderful. If not, no problem at all. That is very late in the healing journey. If you can do that, there's very little left you have to heal from. And it's no easy task by any means. But we start by understanding what it means to forgive. You're not forgiving the abuse. There's nothing about the abuse itself to forgive, nothing about the suffering. So if we understand forgiveness as a way of validating the suffering, or dismissing the suffering, I should clarify, or dismissing the struggle you went through, then that's not forgiveness. That is repression, because there's no way to validate such an injustice without essentially just repressing it. because it's not meant to be validated. The brave thing to do is empower yourself to the extent that basically what you're forgiving is the fact that you're still holding on to the limiting belief that this is somehow preventing you from finding happiness. So the forgiveness is a clearing out of the belief that was instilled in you. There's no room in the world for abuse, for instilling trauma on another person. That's not what's being forgiven. You're basically forgiving yourself, mostly. You're forgiving yourself for being in that situation and for holding on to this identity that somehow you don't deserve a fully fledged chance at living your best life. And so that forgiveness sets you up to move on in such a way where these impressions are no longer holding you back. Where you can say, in this moment, I don't feel like an abused person. In this moment, I feel completely capable of everything. There was a time in which I felt abused and I was abused, and that part of me is always going to be there. But now in this moment, you choose to see that the higher part of you has remained untouched. And it's actually a really small part of it that has to do with the other person. But that part is a lot more difficult. And that's the part of recognizing that even though their choices are not justified, in the context of their life, it made sense to them at that moment. And so if we had lived the same life as them, it is not a certainty if we would have made the same decisions. We would like to believe that we wouldn't, but it's hard to know. It could have been anyone in the position of the abuser, and that's the most difficult thing. Hearing what I said before, that is so freeing. I'm so happy to hear that, dear koi fish. Unfortunately, no one chooses to be an abuser, because no one chooses to be abused, and 99% of abusers were abused themselves, which, again, because I want to be very careful, does not justify someone choosing to process their experience in such a way that causes harm to yet another person. But yeah, they were the victim at some point. You got it. And I don't feel the need to say much more. And I trust you understand that. But yes, to surmise, most of it is to do with letting go of all of the energy that's still being held by your system, freeing up that space for something new. Oh, thank you, dear Orla, for sending a subscription to Kristen. That is very kind of you. And I hope you enjoy the sticker pack, dear Kristen. And I look forward to continuing to be there for you both in any way that I can. And continue to learn from you too. Aghorebhyo tha Ghorebhyo Aghora Ghore Dharebhya Sarvadha Sarve Oh, I missed the word. Sarvatash sarva sarvebhyo namaste rudra rupebhyaha. Thank you for sharing the live, dear Jumbo Sparkles. Orla, you share that something that hit home from me the other night was it wasn't their fault. If we think about our own trauma, we might echo the same sentiment. It wasn't our fault. I like that. Yeah. You've highlighted a beautiful point. It's not your fault. And I think the trick is to just not think in terms of faults in general. Thinking in terms of faults is not going to bring about healing. We have to think in terms of potential, of possibilities from here on. Rav, you ask, do I know what happens after death? No, and no one can really know directly, but we can indirectly infer through a bunch of different techniques. Perhaps the most recent is through the data that we can get from many people who share near-death experiences. There is a cohesive experience that underlies many people's accounts of near-death experience, a surprisingly consistent underlayer. If we were to expect that it's just a kind of random firings in the brain, there would be a lot less correlation in people's stories. So having a large enough data set, which we now have with the magic of the internet, means that we have a whole new means of inferring a little bit more about what happens when parts of the body begin to shut off. So those near-death experiences can be really helpful. Another indirect source is through religion. If you believe that religious texts are divine revelation, then they may speak for you, since you are not able to experience it directly. But that's a personal choice, and not everyone will agree with that. My personal first choice for inferring what happens after death is to flip the question on its head. What happened before birth? If we assume that the state before birth is not so different than the state after death, which I think is a reasonable assumption, well then we do know what happens after death, and it's birth. That is to say, we've already experienced that. We just don't have the same brain or body that shares the memories. But all of those methods are indirect. Directly, we cannot know for certain. So then the question is, if we do lack a direct understanding of death, then what do we do? How should we think about death then? And in my opinion, we should think in a way that leads to a very peaceful moment now. Because the worst case scenario is that there is nothing after. Okay, so if this is our one shot of life, worst case scenario, then at the very least, we should try to shape our perspective in such a way that makes this moment as peaceful as it can be. And I think that'll hold true regardless of what the afterlife is, regardless of what happens after death. We should not be forcing ourselves through unnecessary suffering in this life. So perspectives that can help ease your anxiety, your existential dread, can be really helpful. And that's actually a profound idea that the Buddhists thought about. It's called right view. that their definition of right view is that the authority of a view comes from its ability to lead to a highly peaceful present moment. It's an assumption that they make, and I think it's a really wonderful assumption, that the highest truths should be the ones that lead to the highest peace. So, the reason that the Buddhists, even though they acknowledge it's not possible to know this, still believe in reincarnation because it qualifies as the right view, according to the definition that the right view will always be the one that leads to the most peace, and the Buddhists find the most peace in reincarnation. And I think that's very profound. And I really like that definition. Thank you, Gaisar Dachak, for the heart me that you had sent earlier. Jaya Sachitananda. And thank you for sharing the live, dear Jessica. And Violet, thank you for your heart me and pair of team bracelets. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. And no, I haven't read into the Baha'u'llah's teachings or prayers, dear Waidu. But thank you for planting the seed. My guardian has a feeling I want to be an Aghori. Yeah, I'm the Aghori Baba. I have a lot of respect for the Aghoris. And I wouldn't ditch it. I'm open to the idea. I'm also open to many other ideas, though. Isabella, thank you for your half a dozen fast bursts. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. That needs to be a post. Ask G to infinity. You'll have to remind me what I was talking about at the time you posted that comment. Dear Waidup, you ask, personally, do I view the universe as God or a separate entity? Both. Part of God is the universe, and part of God is something transcendent to the universe. In Sanskrit, the part of the divine that is the universe is called Prakriti. Or more accurately, Saguna Brahman. That the name for God with a capital G, the Godhead, the source, the monad, is Brahman. And that Brahman comes in two, I don't want to say forms because the word form is used in the definitions. But it comes in two flavors, two parts. There's Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. That means you could translate it as God with form and God without form. God with form is the Prakriti. That's the material energy, Mother Nature, the whole of the universe. And that includes our bodies. It includes our Earth, it includes the moon, it includes the sun, the galaxies, all of the interstellar and intergalactic dust and the virtual particles and the black holes and the protons, neutrons, electrons, everything. That's the Saguna, the with form, the divine with form. But there's more than just matter going on. There's a conscious experience of matter going on. And that cannot be explained in terms of matter. You can try, and believe me, scientists are trying. They've been trying for a long time now, but so far it's still just hypothetical, all the theories for how consciousness is produced by the matter. But the ancient idea is that matter is distinct from consciousness. Consciousness isn't made up of anything. Not matter, nothing. It's the space of experience itself, the background. Perhaps akin to, space-time itself. And that's the other part of the divine, the Purusha, that sees through your eyes and my eyes simultaneously, hears through your ears and my ears simultaneously. That's the Nirguna Brahman. Brahman without form, Nirguna. But Brahman is both Saguna and Nirguna. What language is that? Asks Sunner. The language is Sanskrit. Language of the Vedas. Rav did answer your question, and Rav is close. It's very related to Hindi, and Hindi does have a lot of words from Sanskrit. It's actually mostly Sanskrit words. But it's like the similarity between Italian and Latin. Italian has come from Latin, and many Italian speakers can understand a good bit of Latin intuitively. Many Hindi speakers can also understand many Sanskrit words intuitively. But Italian and Hindi are the much more recent languages, and Latin and Sanskrit are the much more ancient languages. You're very welcome, dear Sunrid. And thank you, Jessica, for sharing the live. Animation 0 to Hero, you ask, have I seen an alien yet? Well, it depends. Do you count as one? To the aliens, we're the aliens, right? So, I see them every day. They're called human beings. Thank you, Kalampolo, for another half a dozen roses you had sent. Radhe, Radhe. And dear VK Francis, thank you for your rose. Oh, thank you for reminding me about that I have a mom and a movie to go see. Dear G2 Infinity, that's right. I'll have to wrap up this live stream over the next half an hour. So in that time, I wanted to ask the question of the day, and then we'll end with a short meditation. My question of the day today are, what are some magic words that we use every day? And I'm watching Moana 2. Hello, someone with a very beautifully decorated username. Kyoto. That's funny, Animation 0. No, in that sense, I haven't seen you. No, only Santa is able to keep tabs on you. I'm magnificent, shares Super Dave. That is a magic set of words. I like that. Sky Guardian, you share. Instead of going live, I could have just watched Moana 1, so I would get part 2. That is true. But then I wouldn't be able to be here with you. I love you, shares Isabella. Yes. Those are magic words. Dear Kayline, you share that a company is going bankrupt soon. Any encouraging words? Your company may be bankrupt, but if you were the one that was able to generate the wealth in the first place, then that is your true treasure, and that has not left you. You may see your bank account go up and down, but you are the one that made it go up in the first place. Therefore, your ability to see that number again is not lost. Animation 0 to Hero, you share your magic word of the day is instead of om. I like that. Kyoto, you share it's your birthday and you're too excited to fall asleep. Very understandable, but you certainly deserve a nice birthday sleep. You deserve to sleep in without anyone bothering you. That's a birthday gift to you. But thank you for sharing a part of your birthday with us. May you have a wonderful trip around the sun this year. Of course, dear Kayleen, if that's how I pronounce your name, you can let me know if I can do it better. Solaris, you share some magic words. Yes, I can, and I will. Yeah. And as the great Bob the Builder once said, what is it? It's been a while. I can fix it, or we can fix it. Yes, we can. Or can we fix it? That's it. Yes, we can. Okay. Happy we have some fellow Bob the Builder enthusiasts in the chat. Thank you, dear Rav. Your ability to find inspiration in someone like myself is the true treasure. So thank you for that. Good morning. That's a magic word, dear Billy. I like that. Greg RG, you share. Thank you. You say this to literally everything. Trees, water, you guys. I love that. I've noticed recently I've started saying thank you after I'm done reading. And I didn't even realize that I was doing that. In my own time, when I was done reading another page, I'll close the book and I'll say thank you. And then I noticed I did that. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. I think it's because of all of you who say thank you when I finish reading. And it just echoes in my mind when I'm done reading. Thank you. So thank you for that. Hello, shares Dansuela. That's a magic word. It's simple, but it's effective. Yeah. Or let you echo that. Magic word hello. A cute version of hola in Puerto Rican Spanish is Oli. Oli. Am I saying it right? That's very cute. NLP was effective. You're funny, dear G. Such a nice story you read. Thankful to the book. Exactly. Yeah. Greg RG, you know Bob, but he just tears stuff up and no building. Can we tear it up? Yes, we can. That's the Shiva version. The Brahma version is, can we fix it? Yes, we can. Shiva version is, can we break it? Yes, we can. The Vishnu version is, can we maintain it? Can we keep it? Yes, we can. Dear Willie B, you share, you just got in an argument. Make you feel better. When I'm in an argument, or after I'm in an argument, you know, the mind is always replaying the conversation again and again. You think, oh, if I just said this, maybe they would have gotten it. And I could have said things like this. I think that period of reflection is natural and important. And if you find yourself replaying that conversation in your mind, you are absolutely valid in that. And this is a wonderful experience. You are becoming an even better arguer. And the best part is, no one gets hurt. That you can try out all sorts of different arguments in your mind, and you can figure out which ones work the best. Your laboratory experiment, you think, what if I said this? No, then they would interpret it like that, yeah. What if I think of it like this? Maybe. But life is so short. Do we really want to spend so much of it focusing on our differences? All I know is that if I died tomorrow, I would miss everyone, including the people that I argued with, because they were part of what makes this life. And if I was able to come back through death, I would be very grateful to see everyone, even the people that challenged me, as they allowed me to uncover deeper parts of myself too. But you expressed yourself in the way that you knew how in that moment, and you're reflecting on that. And the next time you express yourself, I pray that it becomes even more in line with what you want to see in the world. Thank you, dear Ragnhildar, for your trio of roses. Kali Mahakali Kali Ke Parameshvari Sarvananda Kare Devi Narayani Namostute. Bob is a dog. Bob is your dog, dear Gregorji. And dear Isabella, thank you for your trio of finger hearts. And your trio of fast bursts. Om Namah Shivaya. I'm sorry to hear that, dear Willie B. That's the worst. Yeah, but the good news is when people are making straw man arguments against us, then they're not actually arguing against us. That if they really understood us, they would not say the things they do. Therefore, the reason that they are saying the things they are saying is because they have someone else in their mind, or some version of you in their mind which isn't true. So it's not as personal as it may feel. Thank you, dear Isabella, for your trio of finger hearts. Oh, I just thanked you for this. Nonetheless, here's another finger heart on the house. All right. Thank you, everyone, for exploring this question of the day together. I did say Oli correctly, dear Orla. I'm happy to hear that. Oh, I'll have to remember that next time, so I can greet you as Oli. Okay, let me pause the question of the day there for now. I have to wrap things up a little sooner than normal so I can go with my mother. Oh, I don't know if you can hear me during the scene transition. So I can go with my mother to the movie. Today I wanted to meditate, just a very simple Buddhist kind of inspired meditation. So if you're interested, we'll be doing a meditation all about, bringing us back to the present moment, letting go of the idea we have of ourself in the mind. We were talking about straw man arguments earlier, just a few minutes ago actually. We also have a straw man of ourself in our mind that we can take down. We can focus on our innate emptiness. And we were also talking about earlier of how that emptiness isn't devoid of something, but open to something. That emptiness is full. Paradoxically, you are full of emptiness. You are not empty of fullness, but full of emptiness. So, for the next couple minutes, we'll bring our attention to our breath. This can be really helpful if you're feeling stressed out or you want to start or end your day on a good note. Make your body nice and loose, relaxed as you can. Traditionally, sit with our feet tucked in and our hands on our lap. I can zoom out a little bit so you can see what that looks like. But if you have other things that you need to consider, like health issues, having a different pose is not going to prevent you from this meditation having a profound effect. Speaking of empty space, seems like my legs are already fulfilling that. This mudra is very good for meditation. We make a circle with our fingers back straight. If you need a supported back, no problem. It's just recommended not to support your head, because then you can fall asleep. Me. Which is great if you want to sleep, but if you want to consciously meditate, keep your head upright. On the inhale, you can mentally recite present moment. And on the exhale, you can recite wonderful moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. And just keep breathing like that. At your own pace, let your body find a natural rhythm. I'm inspired by the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm sure I can pronounce his name better. He has left his body, unfortunately, but he has left behind a treasure trove of meditation techniques and words of wisdom. This meditation is very much in honor of him. Present moment. Wonderful moment. And just like that. He would often say that the kingdom of heaven is here now. You can enter it in this moment. No need to wait until afterlife. You can find it right in the middle of this moment. Any time that you are established in the present, wonder, in love, in compassion, you already know what it's like to be in the kingdom of heaven, or as it's called in Buddhism, the pure land of the Buddha. Present moment, wonderful moment. If we all could be established in that pure land of the Buddha, or the kingdom of heaven, the world would be a better place. The word Buddha comes from the Sanskrit verbal root Buddha, which means to understand or to awaken. And so the word Buddha literally means the one who understands, or the understanding one, or the awakened one. So, the pure land of the Buddha is that place of understanding, of awakening within you. And that is seated in the heart of the present moment. Present moment. Wonderful moment. Another name for the Buddha in Dzogchen Buddhism is the Dharmakaya, which in this context means the sky of teaching. Dharma, teaching in Buddhism. Kaya, sky. Dharmakaya, the sky of teaching. That the Buddha at the highest level is not a person, but the Dharmakaya, the sky of teaching. When your eyes are closed, that's what you're looking at. That space, you feel it in your body too. The Dharmakaya, the space of teaching, that is what contains this moment. Present moment is the highest teacher. Wonderful moment. Dissolve yourself into that space. Thich Nhat Hanh used to teach that because that space contains the present moment, you can take refuge in anything, like your breath. And that is why it works. You can surrender to the breath. The breath, you can say, I surrender to you. I love you. You protect me. I take shelter in you. I am safe with you, my breath, because you are part of the present. You are part of the sky of teaching, and I am one with you. Breath takes us to that pure land of the Buddha, kingdom of heaven. So refined, so relaxing. You could just cry. Tears of joy melt away in this moment. And we'll keep it nice and simple tonight. So we'll end the meditation there for now, but you can keep going in your own time and be inspired by this meditation and check out Thich Nhat Hanh, wonderful Vietnamese, if I remember correctly, teacher of the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. Yes, that's right. Vietnamese monk and peace activist. Namaste. And that'll conclude our Sangha for today. I have a movie to go watch with my dear mother. Let me zoom back in. There we are. Thank you, dear Davis, for the heart me you sent while we were meditating. Om Namah Shivaya. And dear Kristen, thank you for your heart me. Om Mani Padme Hum. And Isabella, thank you for your finger heart. Om Namo Buddhaya. I'm watching a Moana 2. Dear Gregor G, you actually had a dream that you were meditating in a cave last night. As you meditated, you imagined yourself asleep in bed. Just like King Janaka. Who are you? You are the pure consciousness. And in dream, you are a monk meditating in a cave. And while awake, you are Gregorji. Thank you for being here, dear Donzuela. Thank you everyone for being a participant in today's Sangha. We'll end it here today. But hello and goodbye everyone. Hello Kona. Anuko, you ask how to attract friends that shine with your energy. Shine back and you shall find it reflected. Make yourself into that which you want to see, and you shall see yourself all around. If there's any part of this live that you felt was of value, I'll upload the whole thing on my YouTube channel, Yamsox Lives, as well as the meditation and the reading in their own playlists. Tomorrow we're doing ASMR Sunday, which is pretty much the same thing, just with some extra atmosphere, and I promise not to go into anything that'll keep you awake at night. allow this, or may this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That means, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to the light, from death to deathlessness. May there be peace in us, may there be peace in our environment, and may there be peace in the forces that act on us. Thank you, someone with a beautiful name who will have to tell me how to pronounce it better. Jeanette. That's my first attempt. Thank you to my lovely moderators for making this a more peaceful place, keeping the peace. Good night, everyone. I was very happy to listen to a little bit of your song, Dear Magdalene, today, as I accidentally started playing one of your songs on SoundCloud when we began. I don't know if you were here for that. Anuko, you showed that in Croatian and Bosnian, that this name, Znati Zelja, means curiosity. I love that. Yes, we can hear Magdalene's songs another time. I'm sure that she would allow us to. But for now, I bid you adieu. May you have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Namaste.